Well, grab a seat, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have, as a basic principle, the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. Once you discover what it will be, set out to do it, and to do it well. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by signs that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are. Finally, in your life's blueprint must be a commitment to the eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice. Well, life for none of us has been a crystal stair, but we must keep moving. We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, keep moving.
D.N. Davis, the flip. We are back, still in COVID formation. Got a lot of unrest to get into today. The government or the country is going crazy with the George Floyd murder and these protests, which have led to some riots and theories that there are actors being involved coming from other states and causing a lot of a commotion. And to help us on this episode of the show, we used to have Steve's Nuggets on the Dan Davis Show.
Steve's Nuggets. Steve
Suffredin, media specialist, ICB alum, guy that was running all the remote, the cameras and stuff out there, Hoffman Estates with the Windy City Bulls when they were doing replay and stuff of that nature, just all around whiz when it comes to media. Steve Suffredin joining us today. How you doing real quick, Steve?
I'm doing good, guys. It's real good to be back. Real good to see y'all. It's been way too long, and I'm hoping one day soon that we can just go back to doing the Steve's Nuggets.
There you go.
we really need to.
Yeah, we can right now.
Gambling
I
said.
hear you, man.
I'm Kendall Davis, and you know my co-host, my partner. His name is
D. DeMonspero. What's happening, everybody? Make sure you follow the D&. Davis Show on Twitter and IG at D&. Davis Show. That's once again, it's at D&. Davis Show. I'm on Twitter. Well, also, too, facebook.com/D&. Davis Show. You can find all the content there. Hit us up and go to the bio link, and you can go in. You take you anywhere that we are. That's YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, just anywhere. SoundCloud, that's where we at, all right? I'm on Twitter and IG at Demons1, DEMONZE1. Ken's on Twitter and IG at That's Davis. Executive producer of the D&. Davis Show and everything that we do. Ryan Bukoveski. Ryan's on Twitter at Ryan B. Ski and Ryan B. Ski 1. Sidney Brown, our main man, day one brother. He's on Twitter and IG at SidKid80. And make sure you read all of Sid's articles on weareregalradio.com. And Steve, what's your IG and Twitter handle?
IG and Twitter's the same, at Steve Suff on there.
All right, hey,
Fun
Steve
stuff.
Suff on it. There you go. All right, Ken, what you got for us?
all right, this is coming from BBC. A former Minnesota police officer has been arrested and charged with murder following the death of an unarmed black man in custody. Derek Chauvin, I guess that's how his name should be pronounced, who was white, was shown in footage kneeling on the 46-year-old George Floyd's neck on Monday. He and 3 other officers have been fired. It says SAC in the article. Days of looting and arson in Minnesota and the city have boiled over into nationwide protests. The case has reignited U.S. anger over police killing black Americans. Hennep County prosecutor Mike Freeman said that Mr. Chauvin was charged with third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. He anticipates charges for 3 other officers, but will not offer details.
Man, listen, I was sitting on the couch. I've been actually, like most Americans,
glued to it. You know what I'm saying?
And it's just been shocking to see. Sitting back with my wife, and I was actually saying last night, like, man, I can't remember like this many protests over one thing in a long time. Like, we had Ferguson obviously, and that was kind of sparked up a few things. Laquan McDonald, that sparked up a few things. But this is legit across the country. I think, has it been more than 10 to 15 cities? I think I saw something that said like at least 20 cities. Like, we haven't had anything like this, not even in our lifetime.
Is this the closest thing that we've had to Rodney King?
No, this is like
Rodney
the
King
60s.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up, 60s.
When King got assassinated.
Yeah,
like parts of Chicago is still not back because they were burned in some of these neighborhoods. This is similar to that time period.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This had to be at least going back to the Martin Luther King time, and we wasn't even born then. You know what I'm saying? So that's how far back this kind of an uproar goes. It's just been crazy to see, man. Just a lot of this could have been avoided if they just would have arrested the guys. Not even charged them probably. It's arrested them. You probably would have been able to stomp down a lot of this. And I think we can all probably, put our 2 cents into the simple fact of this has been building and building and building and building, especially within this week. It's crazy to see, and I keep saying this, man, the times that we live in, brother, we're going through a pandemic and seeing a nationwide riot at the same damn time.
So it's spreading. Again, we're respreading COVID. But then
that too. Everybody have to loot with a mask on, though. Hey, I'll break this. You get your 6 feet, motherfuckers.
And they lucky I got all my TVs last year.
Oh, look at you. Look at Ken.
You know how I feel about looting and televisions. But real quick, D, one thing that you pointed out was that if only that person did their job, they wouldn't have started a revolt. Oh, like, if only you would have just not killed a
motherfucker. Yeah, don't kill a black man. Don't kill an unarmed black person.
But the thing, though, is, I hate to say it. So I was watching the CNN when they were tearing down the windows, and the reporter was on there acting like a little biatch or whatever. And I'll say it because some people aren't going to like it. But anybody that knows anything about, first of all, he had a line of police officers in front of him. You had a white kid with a skateboard banging on a window. What were they about to do? All right. A firecracker got in there, and dude's just like, oh my God. And just like, see, this is the problem right here. You behaving and acting like your overreaction is the same thing that these cops do when they're engaging with black people. And it's the overreaction. Again, it's different because this person is saying something for the first time. I think his name is like Valencia or something. He kept saying he's been in Atlanta for 14 years and he had never
I know
seen
you guys talking about.
He had never seen anything like this. So
he was scared. He was scared.
But he has to understand he's reporting this to people around the world. Like, you got to get control of yourself. And the cops are with you. You good, homie. You know what I'm saying?
Did y'all see the video down in Louisville when the I don't know if he was even a police officer. He walked up to the young lady, the cameraman, a white girl, reporter, and her cameraman, and straight aimed and shot at them. I don't know if it was rubber bullets or something. Straight shot at this girl twice. He did it twice. He like reloaded, turned around, and shot at them again. And she was like, this motherfucker shooting at you. He's shooting right at us. And they was like, I ain't shooting at you? Like, yes. And she went back out there and kept doing her job. So she was in the midst of it getting shot at. I don't know if it was paper or it was rubber, but she was getting shot at and she was like, I'm still fucking doing my job. So from that Ken to actually seeing the Omar, I can't think of his last name.
Jimenez.
Yeah. CNN. The brother got arrested on live TV. And his white counterpart, his white reporter, a block away, asking the same damn thing, nothing happened. So if that doesn't give you a clear picture of what the hell is going on in Minnesota, I mean, I haven't seen anything like this before. And like I said, man, I'm gonna bring everybody else. And we only got a few minutes on this one, but it still blows my mind. Like, all you had to do was not kneel on a person for 9 minutes to kill him. All you had to do after that, if you wanted to, like, damn, that's fucked up, he needs to be arrested. All you gotta do is arrest him.
Right.
That's all you got to do. And all this shit. And people out here protesting during a global pandemic. What the fuck are we looking at right now?
Steve?
This feels like an apocalypse. Like this is something out of a movie, out of a dream. Like, and it's so touchy-feely right now, man. Like, I feel like, and Ryan, you can attest to this too, like as a white man, I'm struggling to, and that's kind of the whole reason behind me reaching out to y'all and trying to come on and talk about this, is to figure out a way to have this conversation of me being a white man, and because of the color of my skin and knowing that the color of your skin dictates certain social things, like, I just want to be an ally for y'all, and I want to be out there in the fight. But at the same time, I'm looking at this looting and the way that the protest is happening, and I am not here to say that, because I'm never going to understand it. I'm never going to fully understand the burden that any Black person will ever have to bear for the centuries of, you know, oppression and slavery and just the rooted racism and Jim Crow laws and all that. So I can never ever tell anybody, a person of color, how to emotionally react in those situations, and that is not at all what I'm trying to do. What I guess what I'm trying to do is look at it logically and go, this is looting, this is rioting, this is also crimes that are being committed. Mm-hmm. Granted, out of emotional, you know, responses to the injustice that is happening on live TV, which is absolutely wrong in itself too. So, like, how can I, as a white man who has friends like y'all who are people of color and minorities, how can I best be there for you guys and show you guys that I'm right there on the front lines with y'all?
Ian Davis The Flip with Steve Suffredin sitting in on us. Follow him at Steve Suffredin on air. Is that correct, Steve?
Steve Suff on air.
Steve Suff on air. Make sure you follow him, Steve Suff stuff on air. He just came up with a great question on being a European American. How can he help us, Blacks, African Americans, with what's going on? And also, how can we have an open discussion about what's going on? So it's an interesting one. I think one, and so when we have this talk, this by no means is directed at you, Steve, or Ryan. Ryan, he knows.
Understood.
It's not directed at. Here in America, we live on this, depending on what your race, your religion, whatever it is, but you're supposed to be basically a quote unquote good person. And if you're a good person, you care about your fellow man. The Bible has been used has been misused in a myriad of ways, but basically we all know the story of the Good Samaritan. And that's a person that's of a different race than another person that people walk by, and this one Jewish person stopped to help them. And now it's a lesson of, regardless of the fact that this person wasn't Jewish, I'm still going to aid my fellow man. And I think that's the belief that we're supposed to have. And you grow up and you have those rosy glasses on your face, and you kind of believe, I think that we all believe the best in people. And that's another thing. Speaking of those rose-colored glasses, I think I mentioned this on a show a couple of weeks ago, because I think sooner or later, even though we don't need to talk about Black on Black crime, but that's always going to get dragged in. So it's better if we address it than not addressing it. Mm-hmm. But I was saying this to the guys 2 weeks ago that, and it was about somebody getting killed by a cop, I believe, or mistreated by someone else, and how Black on Black crime, in a way, first of all, there's wherever you live, you're killing people in your vicinity.
It's right? Crime.
There's crime. So there's white on white crime, but particularly we know there's more proportionally there's more Black on Black crime, but this because of institutionalized racism, segregation, and how everything is set up to where these people don't have jobs. For instance, you look at the fact that Black kids are charged, for instance, like just to say marijuana, something simple, and now you can't get charged that in Illinois today, but they always make sure that they get Black kids on these trumped up charges where other kids would let go. Now I'm gonna tell you how that affects policing, because once you get a whole litany of people with records on them already, I was reading this article about what DARE, well, not an article, this excerpt about what DARE really was, and it was with Daryl Gates, the police commissioner in Los Angeles, if you can remember Rampart crash and all that stuff from back in the days. The reason that they did DARE was to really get those kids' names on the books early was suggested, right? But let me get back to what I'm trying to say. So here in the Black community, for instance, if I go outside, we just had, Steve, I'm sure maybe you guys had it, when they redid the water pipes going into our residencies this last year, right? We live in South Side, which is it's segregated. It's predominantly Black, Latino, and then on the outskirts you have white people. All right. The reason I bring that up is that here, where it's just Black people, I maybe saw one Black person working. And it's getting back to the thing about the charges with the kids. You deny access to middle-class jobs. And what they really do is, one, they keep the attention of white people on the fact that, hey, we're going to give enough jobs for y'all because we already know there's no manufacturing here in America. The dream in America is that I can graduate high school, I can go over here, get this job, and send my kids to college and maybe get me a vacation home, right? That dream has been gone, but they want the lie of the dream to be continued. So there's lesser jobs, and those jobs are going to be given to white people predominantly. And just look at policing in general. Our police force should be divided into the racial demographics of the city, basically, right? But I
completely agree on that.
We've seen it when it comes to the fire department, how the Chicago's fire department has been sued for racially keeping Blacks out of it. All right, you go to these firehouses in our communities, they can just be a white firehouse. I know several Black firehouses. The only reason I'm getting back to this is to show that when there is no upward mobility, that causes a lot of the things that happen when it comes to Black on Black crime. So I want to get that started as far as how the institution is set up. So where the people at the bottom and the crabs in the barrel mentality is going to lead to this national narrative of basically they deserve this because of look what they do to themselves, right? So let's put this right here. Let's go back. Let's bring that's what they do to themselves. Regardless of that, I still pay my taxes. Pookie, I don't pay Pookie shit. All right, Pookie need to stop. All right, but the real thing is, I pay policemen to just do their jobs. One thing you always hear, and this isn't a Dean Davis against the police narrative, all right? Because I've had wonderful relationships with cops across the board, all right? A lot of times growing up, just being an ignorant kid, and I wasn't selling drugs or anything because that'd be the narrative that comes off of this. But there have been plenty of white cops that just let me go for doing stupid shit. So that's not that's not what I'm trying to say. But even with that, these cops know that their teammates are fuckboys. And you look at Officer Chow in Minneapolis, and all he had to do was be like, hey, dude, that's about enough, right? Now, I try to look it through his eyes. He's an Asian American. I'm sure there's not a ton of Asian Americans on that police force. So I'm sure he's trying to fucking fit in, and he's still taking in the same type of bullshit. Now, that's not saying he doesn't feel the same way for that Black man as Chauvin did, but just still looking at it. So being a white male trying to see what you can do, blast that shit and make people feel uncomfortable. Like one thing that I've really, this happened with the Jay-Z, Roger Goodell thing. And me and my barber got into a heated discussion because I said to him, Jay-Z can do what he wants to, but make sure you say that Colin Kaepernick deserves to have a job. Now, I don't have the power to give him his job, but he deserves to have his job. Now, he didn't say that. And the reason he didn't say that is because he didn't want to, one, have that soundbite with Roger Goodell sit next to him, but he didn't want Roger Goodell to feel uncomfortable. And there's this thing here in this country where it's okay for us to feel uncomfortable. It's fine for us to feel uncomfortable. So for instance, I don't care if anybody gets mad at me. I don't care that they're rioting. Burn this bitch down. All right, because if that's the only thing you fucking care about, then okay. So it's financial loss. And I apologize to the people that are losing their businesses, especially during a pandemic, and may not be able to reopen their businesses. Let me lead with that. I apologize. It's not fair to you whatsoever. But it's not fair to other people what they've been going through either. And when you keep fucking with people, and on top of that, you have this racist president that as a country, we can't even just be like, he's fucking racist. We got to play games and act like he's not doing this racist bullshit.
Everybody knows he is.
We've been living 3.5 years. The day he got elected, we already knew y'all was like, fuck us, right? Now we're 3.5 years.
Man, it was before he got elected. It was before he got elected.
You're right.
He had a Comedy Central roast, and it was all the people that roasted him, and then he had his 5 minutes at the end to roast everybody else, and then the last minute and a half, 2 minutes, if you go back and watch that, I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. All of a sudden, balloons come out of the sky, confetti falls, streamers, the whole nine, and then they start playing da 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 da.
Oh,
and I'm
really?
sitting there going, there ain't no damn way that this is actually happening right now. This has to be a joke. And it turned out not to be a joke, but a joke at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. Sid, what do you guys say? Oh, I'm sorry. You want to finish up?
We're living where every day we turn on the TV, the president, the DOJ is aimed at either when he came in there with sessions that, listen, we're not going to come behind these police departments in these areas to investigate this fuck shit. That's not what we're going to do. So you coming in this, you like, y'all on y'all own. We already knew it, but you're reaffirming the fact that we're on our own. We're reaffirming the fact that you have the sister, Breonna Taylor, right? You have, what was the black brother that was chilling in his crib and the cop, she came in there in the wrong floor, thought it was her apartment down in like Houston.
Oh, Houston. Dallas or Houston.
Dallas or Houston.
Yeah,
and shot his ass. And it's, dude, nobody, this is my last part. Because I still want to address the black on black crime point because it's low-hanging fruit and it's used as a distraction. Nobody in this world allows somebody else, especially someone that's not their ethnicity or religion, to come into their areas and kill their people, regardless of whatever they have going on in their area. So right. I can go to Pakistan, right? And those Muslims could be over there and they could be fucking each other. Not that I don't mean like literally fucking, but they could be assaulting each other, doing whatever, right? When my black ass show up and do something over there, they gonna fuck me up, right? And that's anywhere. I can go to Ireland, I can go to Japan, they're gonna fuck me up. So don't ask me why it's okay that if we still have problems in our community, it's fine for you to come in here and kill us also. No, motherfucker, because I couldn't do that shit in your fucking neighborhood. And I'm paying you.
Yeah. Sid, what you got?
In midst of all this protest and outrage, and people have the right to feel the way they feel. We all should be angry about what's happening in Minnesota. We say this all the time, and I'll say it here. We have an election, the presidential election, coming up in November. I hope that this momentum carries to the polls in November, and all this amongst all this protest and outrage, and rightfully so. When was the last time we seen record numbers at the polls for the presidential election? 2008 to a lesser extent, 2012, and President Obama. Hopefully, this momentum carries over in November. I quoted the TV host and journalist Roland Martin all the time on this program. I'll quote him again. Real work begins the day after the presidential election. We always focusing on the presidential election, but all politics are local. We had a mayoral election last year with Miss Lori Lightfoot being elected mayor. We had to pay attention to local elections.
Think about that too. That was going to be the first ever woman, minority mayor of the city of Chicago, regardless, because it was down to Tony Preckwinkle, who is still the Cook County Commissioner, or the Cook County Board President, excuse me, or it was Lori.
So we had to pay attention to our local elections, especially the city that we live in, and we're broadcasting from Chicago. Your aldermen, your like Steve just said, your county commissioners, all that's important as well. If those elections are screwed up and those situations are screwed up, it affects the national level. We always pay attention to the national elections, which we should, but it all starts with being local. We have to pay attention to what's going on locally, because if the local situations are messed up, it affects everything else. So I just wanted to tell the people, the protesters, let's carry this momentum, build on it positively into November and beyond. 2 years from now, let's have this momentum in our gubernatorial races with our senators and governors are reelected. But let's not forget this moment 2 years from now. And also, let's not forget, just pay attention to what's going on every day, because if we just get outraged for a moment and then go back to our normal lives, this is all for nothing. We just all have to be mindful and be mindful of it, and just let this momentum build up in a positive direction. That's the only way we're going to have change.
Right. Definitely. And the whole
US
thing there.
Though, wouldn't you, Sydney?
Yeah, USA,
Absolutely.
USA.
Always. And so
go ahead, Steve.
the whole I love that you brought up that point, Sid, about the election coming up, because the presidential election is a big deal, but it also happened. Like, we gotta get the old ass white people, for better look at it, out of the Senate and the House too. Like, it's not just. Think about it. There are countless senators, countless representatives that have been in there for 40 years.
30, 40 years, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They've made a career out of being a politician.
Right.
And, like,
yeah.
As it pertains to the presidential race, you have two really old, racist white guys that are going against each other. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Ryan, what you got?
Well, I mean, I feel for really any minority out there, like me as a white person who really has, I guess, no ground to say this, I'm tired of seeing these stories. Like, I've been riding my bike a lot.
Yeah, everybody should be.
Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about Ahmaud Arbery still. How lucky I am to just be able to just go out. And I go on some of these back roads. I might even go out at night, like prime territory to be hunted down or something if somebody was coming after my skin color. And I don't have to worry about that. So this happens with George Floyd. And I mean, it's just so wrong on every level. When you talk about, like what Ken said, when you're just talking about just the police side, what the hell were you doing? That was never a part of any technique or some
kind of training. No kind of training.
You were never taught this in the academy, ever. So
they said they allowed in Minneapolis, though. They actually, I've seen reports.
That neck move?
They say that you're not supposed to do it, but it's allowed. Now, I don't know if it's in the state or if it's just the Twin Cities. But I've seen 2 articles in the last 2 days saying that that city, that department allows that neck move.
Okay.
I mean, that's craziness to me. I mean, and let's just take the race element out of this for just a second. I personally, through my experiences, have never really had a good ones with cops. I came from a small town where a lot of cops like to abuse their power. And it was very evident, and you saw it. And now I'm in a predominantly white community. There might be some other Latinos, people from Mexican descent, any of that. But there's no other minority factor. And these cops, you know, I never had a huge problem. I never had an Ahmaud Arbery situation or anything like that. But I always felt that I was being abused as a citizen from this cop who thinks that because I'm cop of a 2,000 population town, I'm the end-all be-all king of all. And I think that speaks to a larger thing, because obviously there are great cops, there are great officers doing their job, but think about any industry. There are pieces of shit that get jobs for no reason, and they keep their jobs because they have the right relationships and the right connections, or they slip through the cracks, whatever way. The whole policing law enforcement system, along with our politics, along with another thing, and this is what people really need to realize, the systematic abuse. This machine works against all of us unless you have a lot of power and a lot of money. If you don't have that stuff, you have some rights based on your race, based on your religion, and then it goes downward where you get less and less if you're not a part of the culture that they deem good enough to get any type of rights or get any type of civility out of life. We need to dismantle this whole system and rebuild it. And I'm not saying let's get rid of cops, but how we teach it, how there's discrepancies from, like what you just said, Ken, state to state, apparently, where some people are allowed to kneel on necks or God knows what else they're allowed to do in whatever country, or I'm sorry, whatever state that's not a part of the larger system that is taught. This has to be regulated. And when we talk about also in the past how jobs are being cut like crazy for robotics and all this stuff, you're going to have so many people out on the streets with no jobs. Let's give them a job. Let's regulate these pieces of shit. Let's have people trained and let's build a system full of locks and channels. Because I'm sick of going through Yahoo and every day there's just a new killing. Oh, it was a police officer. Oh, the cliche. Oh, we were under physical duress. They were resisting, so we had to do whatever the fuck we wanted to do. And that's always the fucking layout, and that's how it works out. And it's just tiresome. I can't even imagine how somebody that's a minority feels. Like, that's the kind of tiresome that can break people. And that's why you're seeing what's happening.
And yeah, that's definitely going to break you.
Well said.
D, real quick, and Ryan, you brought this up, and this is an excuse that I hate hearing from law enforcement. Look, one reason I didn't get it with the cops, I had like my gangbanger friends was like, man, you should be a cop. Now, I don't know if they thought I should be a cop because I was going to let them get away with shit. But one thing I always knew how corrupt the police department was, I was going to have to be corrupt or else they was probably going to do something to me. So I never, just here in Chicago, I was kind of like, I'm good. All right. From what I've kind of seen, it was like, I'm good because I would rather try to live my life on the straight and narrow. But this is the thing. You see a lot of cops, and Ryan mentioned duress. I hate hearing cops, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't want this, but say, listen, I'm just trying to get home. Look, I did not ask you to take that job. All right? That's the same if you're in war and you just take off running. No, the motherfucker's gonna be like, coward, get your ass back up. And again, I'm not calling all officers cowards, but you know the risk that comes with your job. If you can't handle that, and I thought about D. D, you remember about 10 years ago, the kid that was at the gas station and the cop asked for his ID and the kid dives back into the car and the cop starts shooting him. And the cop's like, why'd you dive in the car? And the kid has his wallet. He's like, I was getting my wallet, right?
You told me to.
Yeah, you're right. You told me to, right?
Yeah,
now, we growing up in the city know not to do that. This kid did not grow up, and he's younger than us, a different generation. We were taught in grade school, watch out. I remember the teachers being like, hey, just watch out, all right? Mm-hmm. So, again, I'm talking about that cop because that cop was so scared, all right? I'm not saying that he still can't be scared, but you also know the risk that you take on. And again, if I was there, someone dived in the car, I may shoot his ass up too. But I'm just still pointing out, if you take this job and you have to take on the responsibility of that job, and you can't revert to your simple animal or clan instincts, you have to be over that because you're taking on a job of being a death dealer, basically, and you should do it judiciously. D, please.
That's the shield. That is what the shield is. You don't get to change the rules of the shield. It just because, I like the power this day because it was a nice, easy day and I got a bunch of, I don't know, gifts or whatever, like I get a discount, blah, blah, blah. But then when the job is distressful, I'm just going to break procedure. No, you have to be better than a human being. You have to be above humanity to protect humanity.
Right.
Yeah, you do. D and Davis the flip right here.
The judgment factor is just absolutely ridiculous. The amount of racial profiling that happens because of the police force. And I have a lot of really close friends and people that I trust and people that I look up to as, men of character that are police officers and in the police, line of work. And I'm really appreciative of the example that they've given me of what it looks like to be a good cop. But there are way too many that we've seen over the years that have just abused the power. And like the bad apple, I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine last night. One bad apple is going to spoil the bunch and make this all about police brutality on minority men, which is terrible.
Men and women.
Yeah, exactly. And that has got to be, the one bad apple out of the bunch spoils it for everybody. But it's just.
Well, listen,
when other cops don't say anything.
That's the problem. No, that's the problem. I mean, it's you have to be able to break it down from what's inside. So one thing you will always hear, like, hey, you want to make a change? Start from the inside, and that's how you do it. I've seen plenty of videos of African-American cops or people of minority background who became police officers, and we'll give you that. Say, hey, listen, I grew up seeing this. I wanted to change it from the inside. I've also seen some videos from white cops saying, listen, you are making it harder for all of us. Like, you cannot do this. Those videos have come out, right? But just to go back to your original question, Steve, talking about, how if you as a white man can make a change, it's more so like Ken kind of alluded to it. You have to be able to call it out. The issue is for some people, for some white people, just be blunt, when you call things out, you can't get looked at side eye. Okay, whatever. But also you have to recognize if you're calling somebody out on a position that they have, you got to understand that they can lose that position. And some people don't want to lose that position because life is like a game. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I was dealt a good hand. I'm about to try to run this hand. But if you have somebody come around and saying like, nah, dude, you got that hand over, off of pure luck. And because of who you are and what family you was born in and because of these privileges, they're going to be like, hell no, I ain't giving this up. So that's I would think that's the struggle that some white people have and why they don't want to speak up. They could be afraid, saying, they might get ostracized, or it's kind of like, I don't want to lose my position. So the hard thing is being able to call people out, to make change from within, and also to understand you making that change is probably going to knock you down a peg. But being the moral person that you are, you know that you also allowing somebody to come up. Because this is one thing we always say in this country, right? Equal. We all just want to be equal. But you have a lot of people that don't want it to be equal. And that's one, on top of everything else we've all said right now. That's another layer to this systematic racist cake that we see right now.
I just want
something else.
I just want to be left alone.
You just be left alone. Hey, that's another thing too. But that's equal though, right, Ken? Is that equal?
Like, yeah. I'm not kumbayan. I'm not like, I just give me my, especially like if
just let me be a human.
Yeah, look, if you don't like me, don't talk to me. Keep it moving. We can be fine, but just don't allow me to be killed because someone was having a bad day. Like,
or they just don't like you.
I'm not asking a lot. Yeah. I'm not really asking a lot. I'm asking to be left alone. Dude had a bad $20 bill and a buzz and got killed. And listen, I'm gonna tell you this much. I will give our counterparts props, because that narrative 20 years ago would have been like George Floyd was full of shit. He was this, he was that, he was that. Because the narrative, and it goes back to, you have to realize we all view everything through the programming they put in our heads.
Right.
You have to deprogram yourself. If you're not cognizant of it, you're fucking lying. All right? I view things through a mentality of people that were in prison. So my first reaction is, what was that Negro doing, right? Not that he could just be left alone. My first reaction, what the fuck was he doing? He should have known better than that.
But
right?
You know what, Ken? I was going to say, but going to Ryan's point and Steve's point, and I've seen other people say the same thing too that are white, not believing that narrative anymore. I don't know, because it's the simple fact of, and I'm going to say this, and I've said it 1,000 times on here, whoever came up with the idea to put a camera or a camera phone or a video camera on a cell phone is the most underappreciated human being of all time. It's one of them, right? Because now it's kind of like, even with the autopsy coming out, saying like, well, you know what? We don't know if saying it wasn't no signs of the strangulation. It was some preconceived, but you will still see, but you start to see this like, that's some bullshit.
Right.
Big time.
That's some bullshit. Somebody apply pressure on your throat and you're laying on your stomach. My boy Clarence is OCO, Mac, Ken, you know him. Mac, he OCO, CO. And he worked in a jail, obviously. And he said, man, listen, none of that stuff that you just saw right here on TV with the needle to the neck, none of that's trained. He said you could kill somebody by simply laying them on their stomach and the head behind their back.
Yeah.
He said, now think about this. Putting your knee into their throat is just going to cause it now. So now you have people being able to see through the bullshit. Like you said, Ken, once 10, 20 years ago, you was like, oh, no, well, obviously that's what the coroner said. The coroner said he didn't die like that.
Right.
You're seeing it's like, that's some bullshit. So that's another level. That's probably another reason why you're seeing this, to my original point, starting off this whole conversation, this topic, I should say. Why you're seeing it such a big uprise everywhere. Decades and decades, for us, hundreds of years of frustration. You have the systematic racism. You definitely have that. And now on top of it, you're able to finally just see it. And it's throwing everything out of a whack. And to Ryan's point, maybe this is a time where you can actually say, we got to deconstruct this shit. We got to break it down. Your local governments, your local officials, vote local, state and senate, yes, all the way up to the president. We have to start breaking down these levels to make this more equal and fair. And to what Ken said, just leave me the fuck alone. We got to get to that point. We got to get to that point.
Most definitely. Something I want to say real quick is, and there's a good chance I could take some flack for this from people of my color. Racism, I'm looking right in my camera. Racism is taught. It is learned. It is not something you are born doing. It is not something that is just.
It's not inherent to humanity.
It is not. Exactly. And that goes for any person. If you harbor any hate for any person based off of the way that they look for any reason, that is on you. And you learn that somewhere. So you have to live with making people feel uncomfortable like that. And that is a very uncomfortable thing for me to say, because I have a lot of friends that I associate with who are pretty racist. It's hard for me to have I would never be able to have a conversation like this with certain of my friends, because I would get shot down immediately as, well, why don't you just not, I'm taking your white card. It's like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So sorry, I just had to say that real quick.
No, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, no, it's real. That's why we have this
that is real. Big time, Steve. I had the same thing. One other thing I wanted to point out.
Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Anyways, the other one thing I wanted to say is, let's not forget too, police officers, politicians, especially when you talk about Democrat, Republican, they have their own fraternity. When you have your own fraternity, what do you usually do? You usually stick to the fraternity. Ken, you were talking about this before with Officer Chow. He probably can't just be a minority in a police station. He probably has to fall in line to be in the fraternity. And especially every fraternity has a leader. If that leader is bad and corrupt and says, hey, as a precinct, we don't like minorities, so don't defend them. If that is at all insinuated or passed along to the rest of the flock, that's how everyone's going to be. Even if they don't believe it themselves.
Right? That is a hell of a point, dog.
And even to the officers that look like Ken and I see it, that go out there and treat the other people that look like themselves. It's kind of like it's passed down. You 100% right, Ryan.
You know what?
And it goes back to how racism is passed down and learned over generations too.
Yeah. And just another part of the script from the show was the fact that we found out. I saw the club owner come out and talk about that George Floyd worked there. I saw the interview. And once she called him, and she was like, "I wish he would have known." Talking about Siobhan,
one of my boys.
That he was one of my boys. I was like, "I don't like that. Like, you shouldn't have said that part." But she was still saying that they probably did not meet each other, but there's a chance they could have known each other. But one thing she pointed out, because the club is usually, it's a Latin club, but when they had urban nights, that the cops would get way too aggressive. And that the simplest thing was send them into pepper spray
into a tizzy.
Yeah. And it's just that mentality. All right, that's plantation mentality that we still love. It's like the old pastime. Fuck baseball being the old pastime. Your boot on our necks has been the fucking pastime.
That's the original shit,
right? Like
genocide and slavery.
Yeah, and it's just, dude, I didn't even get my ish that I was supposed to get. We haven't went that turn on your ass. You still don't understand. Like, we're good people, I think. I mean, it's just one of those things when you just still look at it like, it's just. And again, I'm not here to ask someone else to view me as a human. All right, I am a human, and I'm a grown ass man, and I take my respect, or I demand my respect, or you can catch it. Because I think about this. And then I feel earlier, I was like, man, this show gonna get me too emotional. I'm just getting over some shit. I don't need this shit right now, right? I was like, I feel my eyes gonna get moist today. But I sit there and I think about the fact that as a black male here in this country, that I have to go up to somebody else and be like, you don't see me? Like a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to be like, hey, look, I bleed like you bleed. Man, this shit's been too long for me to have to do that shit. Listen, as Steve said with his partners, Steve's friends, your friends, Steve, have the right to be racist. As long as they don't use that racism and apply it on somebody. All right? If you don't like the people, that's your business. I personally try to love everyone. All right? Because it's how I was raised. All right? And sometimes you have to grow and you have to gain, because I've always been a proponent of the LGBTQ community, right?
Exactly.
But I remember like 25 years ago, and it was like, yeah, they're going to get married. And people was like, well, maybe just not call it married. I was a person like, well, maybe it's not as bad if they don't call it married. And I was wrong, right? And because from where we all came from, saying the F word, I got friends that still say the F word. And I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you, right? Like, and listen, they can look at me like a bitch if they want to. To me, I don't like it, so I don't say it. You know, my son has never heard me say it. Like I don't, and it's simple to do that for people. It's like, you don't like that? All right, I don't have to do it. Listen, even if you do it in your house, but I don't have to do it out here. One thing I thought about, and it's Steve, you mentioned it, and it goes back to what you were talking about, Dave, with the lady that owned the club that said that Officer Chauvin.
Maria, I think it's Maria Santa Maria. I'm gonna try to get a name for you.
It's Santa Maria. It's definitely
okay, Santa Maria.
Last name.
Last name is Santa
I don't know
Maria.
why in this article it doesn't have her first name.
Okay.
Anyway, or at least the part that I took. Let me not put it on the article. The part that I took from it or whatever. And she mentioned how she was perturbed by how angry the cops were when it was urban night. Stephen, you asked how you can help. One thing, and we all can fall suit to this sometime, not standing up for right. I mentioned, and I said it was one of my guys used to be my best friend growing up. We didn't talk for years. And when the first time we started talking, he was letting a gay slur flow out of his fucking mouth. And I'm like, whoa, son, like that's a lot right there. You know, the way
that you feel about the F word is the same way that I feel about the R word as it's concerned to disabled people and all that too. Like I feel you on the F word, and I put the R word right up there too.
But the thing is, if we don't call people out, like when you talk about your racist friends, they have to start feeling uncomfortable about their emotions. So even if those people are racist, they need to know when they're out and about not to bring those tendencies out. All right, because you can't change a person's heart, but you can change the person's actions. So one, it's about making it culturally, morally right that, listen, that's how you feel, but keep that shit the fuck over there. So, because what really needs to change is your friends that are racist needs to fear you for not being racist. And that's what needs to be the change. So not that when we go home, racism is cool, the blacks aren't around here, we can be ourselves. And yeah, even though some of my friends are not racist, they know just let me be me. No. You keep that shit caged up in your fuck ass. And I mean, that's the thing that we have to do. And look, I'll be uncool. Like I said, when hearing a friend say, F word. Now, I'm not even going to say it. If you don't get it, it's a gay slur, right? We grew up saying the shit, right? I remember the time when I started working in corporate America, and I was like, dang it. And no one had told me. It was a gentleman that at my job had it was crazy. He had a shrine to one of the actors on Prison Break.
Oh, right? I know you're talking about.
And I had never seen some shit like this. Literally, because listen,
that was wild.
At any office place, a shrine, I don't care. Let's just say that's like me having and this is like that's like having me a shrine for like Lupita Nyong'o. And you just see pictures at my desk, damn near a ceramic, it's really for an office place. It's not correct.
We didn't even have cubicles. There was just
it was lunch tables. Our computers were just on lunch tables.
Basically,
right?
basically.
Was it just like the main character of Prison
No,
Break?
it was the brother. It was the one that was in jail. Actually,
he was
crazy part. It was the one that came out being gay. Listen, gay people have great gay radar.
Man, he's gay?
Yeah, I believe he's gay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's
gay. I said anything wrong with that. I just said no.
No, the slimmer one. The slimmer one is gay, I believe.
Yeah, he's biracial. Right? Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah,
I think you're right, Ken.
Yeah, I know I'm right. But his gaydar. No, because after used to like Prison Break, so that's why I kind of know. After used to watch Prison Break, I didn't.
People used to be obsessed with that show. I don't know
people
why.
were big on Prison Break.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, dang, I can't say the F word like that. I don't even mean it like that. Now this is me being ignorant, right?
We were younger too.
We grew, but this is the culture we grew up in.
Yeah.
But the best thing that happened was me working there, being like, you know what? I said this to myself. I'm not gonna say this at home because I don't want to make it slip up and say this shit, right?
Yeah.
Bingo.
Fast forward, and this has nothing to do, but one of my close friends came out, and I kind of knew he was gay, came out to be gay. I've never had an issue with people's sexuality. But the crazy part was when people got fired, this ended up being one of my closest friends at the joint or whatever. It's just one of those things that, and so that's me, for instance, saying there's no animus towards gay people, in particularly in some aspects of Black culture, where there is. All right, why am I going to be a liar and say it's not or cover it up? And another thing, we too fucking grown. What's the point of being an adult if you still lie about childish bullshit? You mentioned
some people, but some people can't grow up. I know some people who would say man, they are the exact same way they were in high school. And we It's people older than me. They could be like in their 50s and 60s.
60s
Like
and 70s.
she still act the same way we did when we were 17 years old. Some people, some humans don't evolve. You could be around some of the most progressive people, not in the sense of like politics, but kind of like, just kind of like they have elevated themselves. You know what I'm saying? They grew up. Maybe that's a better term. They grew up.
They've evolved and adapted over the time.
Yes, they just grew up. Some people are still at their base level and never grow out of it.
That's why you got to make them uncomfortable, D.
Yeah.
Even dumb people, you can make uncomfortable with saying dumb shit.
Oh yeah, I feel you. Yep. Go ahead, Ryan.
D, you already said it. I mean, how many people stay basic to keep their life the same because they really like their position and life as it is? If I think, if I actually care, my world is gonna change. It's just gonna happen. Mm-hmm. And they're so afraid of that happening. Like, no, whoa. I'm down with caring, but not if it changes my life.
Yeah. All right, that's another point I wanted to bring up. There's another thing I wanted to bring up. Ken kind of alluded to it earlier. As I was watching all these protests, I just kept saying to myself, at first I was saying internally, then I finally started just saying it externally to the missus we sit next to. We sitting back watching it. And all disclosure doesn't really matter, but my wife is biracial, right? She's black and white. So I'm watching it, and I'm like, it's a lot of white people out there. And she looked at me, she's like, well, what, you don't think white people are going to be out there marching and being about for the cause? I said, no. I ain't trying to say that. And maybe it's kind of a generational thing. It's kind of like, saying I've seen different protests, like where she grew up with a majority with her mother who's white. She'll tell me like, saying my mother didn't, saying we didn't have cable, things like that. We was pretty poor. And, saying my mother wasn't turning on the TV so I could see what was happening at the Rodney King riots and stuff like that. I saw that because it was kind of like, hey, young black boy, you need to see what's happening in your world. It affects you, and this because of this, right? So, I'm like, is something not sitting right with my black soul on this? It's like, I see a lot of white people out there. Like, I'm not used to this. And not saying that I don't want them down for the cause, because I do want everybody down to the cause. Steve, Ryan, y'all here. We talking an open discussion. Y'all part of the elevating. Then I wake up and I think I sent this the thread out to the guys. Joy Reid, who's an MSNBC reporter, but this is basically coming off the press conference of the governor of Minnesota, the mayor of Minnesota, Minneapolis and Twin Cities, and Keith Ellison, who I didn't even know was the AG up there. He's Attorney General. And it's coming out right now like, yeah, you're seeing all these people out there. There are a lot of white nationalists. And
I was just about to say this. I got friends that are up in Minnesota right now. White people who are progressive and behind the movement and who are trying to do the right thing. And all it is white nationalist supremacists that are trying to provoke a race riot by doing the looting and doing a whole bunch of shit right now. Yeah, they are starting this so that it can turn into a racial thing and get that side of it going. Like, it's wrong. It's totally wrong. That is just...
Yeah, it's crazy. She tweeted out.
Soul, man. Like,
she tweeted out. She said, this is based off the conversation. She got a thread. She said, ads that white nationalist groups are posting messages promoting going to Minneapolis to get our loot on and cause mayhem. He says they will investigate those using outrage over the murder of George Floyd as a cover for illegal activity. Also, she did note that Mayor Carter, this must be the mayor from St. Paul, said every she has capitalized, every person arrested last night during the protest was from out of state. The governor said at least 80% said it is at least 80%, and that they will begin releasing the names. Deputy of Safety Commissioner John Harrington says they are contact tracing arrestees. So I don't know if that means contact tracing of COVID.
I think COVID.
COVID, right?
But using contact tracing to see what the connections were with these people.
Yeah.
Real quick. And so the lapdog jumped out, William Barr, today, and it was funny.
Oh.
Didn't take any questions, just like his boss didn't when he put out that bogus ass tweet the other day, and then he ran it back. William Barr was like, a lot of the people are traveling from out of states. but he said that it was anarchists and extreme leftists. And I said, son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't say anything about people that were hard right, which we're talking about the white supremacists. And again, going back to the whole Charlottesville, they're good guys on both sides, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just so. This is the thing. It's in the administration. Like, think about if you're living in a country, and the country's already set up against you, right? But now you got somebody that's using it. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump isn't a racist, but Donald Trump uses racism to be his bully pulpit for his base because he know it amps them up.
Right.
So now,
are you kidding?
So,
man, he's racist.
No,
he is racist.
Yeah, look again. I
there
agree with you.
There was a press conference like 2 weeks ago.
You can talk about the Central Park 6. I'm not again.
No. Where the Chinese American or the Asian American reporter from CBS asked him a question, and he goes, "It's the China virus. That's China." Like, no. Who do you think you are, bro?
Oh, yeah.
And then the tweets he came out with last night.
I'm not. No. Again, I'm not. The only thing I'm trying to say from taking that off of him right there is just still pointing out that he uses it as a tool. I agree. Mm-hmm. I believe he's a racist, but I also now he uses racism as a means to an end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also,
definitely.
Side note: Steve brought up a great point about Joe Biden, right? So we put out, I think the last flip, Shut the Fuck Up Biden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the pot smoke.
I came up with the title. So blame me for the title of Shut the Fuck Up Biden. Blame yourself. If you have anything to say about that, come at Ken. So somebody, and I think it was a black person, I believe, commented on it and was like, yeah, but Trump is saying this. It was check the post check my post of it or whatever.
Oh, okay.
On Instagram. Somebody, and this was one day. It just so happened they did it. I just gotten up and I was just going through it, and I said, and you know, when I get angry, I want all the smoke. Mm-hmm. So it was like, oh, thank you so much for this. So they basically had told me like, Trump's over here calling people thugs and doing this and doing that, and something, Joe, you need to wake up. And I said, hold up. I said, if you ever listen to this show, me and my host, me and D, have been saying that Joe Biden was going to be the nominee and we was going to vote for him, even if necessarily we didn't think his old ass needed to be running.
Yeah.
Right? So don't act like we can't chew gum and walk. I can reprimand him for fucking up and still use him as an ends to a means at getting Trump out the fucking White House, right? But it was just funny that somebody had sit there, because that's really what we're doing. Listen, look, and I was going to get deeper into it and start talking about the Tara Reid shit, right? Like how we're absolving that shit, right? Listen, let me take even further. I say it on here. I'm not a fucking a JB Pritzker guy because he didn't give up his fucking taxes. I can't be mad at fucking Trump for the shit, and then because JB's a Democrat, be like, well, it's okay. They all rich, you dumb motherfuckers. Like, if rich people are hiding some shit, they not hiding that shit for no fucking reason. No, I went off with a tangent. Now I'm just stepping my little ass back.
see, you've been quiet. What do you think about what I was saying? Had brought up the simple fact of now it's been reported that, the white nationalists and ultra-right people are kind of like invading these protests and kind of like really starting shit.
It's really sad, and like him brought up Charlottesville, that's what brought it back to me. We talked about it on the show before. Trump, where you think he's racist or not, that's up to you, but he does use that element to, like you said, ramp up his base, because that was a big element that got him into the White House, because he said, just like all politicians, they say what that base wants them to hear, what they think that fan base wants them to hear, and so he's catering to them. And so I just think it's really sad. Whoever did the looting and the destroying of the property, they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And it's just really sad all around. What I really wanted to say in my last segment was, I know Ken and D, I know you guys are both parents of young children, but I want to send this message out to our listeners. I know many of you guys are parents, are guardians and grandparents, and for people who do know parents and grandparents and guardians, this is to my young people. I know we got some 20-year-olds in college that are protesting out there as well. But
my goddaughter is a 5-year-old black girl.
This is
I'm just saying, bro.
Just saying, like, hey, he got everybody in the family.
Drop this for it.
Hey, go ahead, Sid.
But this is to my high school seniors who just graduated from high school. If you're 18 years old or will be 18 years old before the November election, to all my parents out there, guardians and grandparents, please tell your high school seniors to go and register to vote. COVID or no COVID, please register to vote. And to the people that say that your vote doesn't count, BS. Get rid of that notion. It's not true. Your vote does count. Register and vote, and please vote on the election day and follow the issues beyond after the election day.
I don't know if it's too.
Sid, that's amazing. Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if it's too late to do the census. Do the damn census, and make sure your ass to go out there and vote. See, you couldn't be more than 100% on that one. And go back to your point earlier, local elections, local officials. I don't know if anybody saw this, and I know I tweeted it out. Killer Mike had a off the top impassionate speech from last night with the riots going down there in Atlanta. And one of the key things he was basically saying, like, hey man, listen, you tired of this shit? Voting's coming up. Vote out the prosecutor to lock your homeboy up.
Right.
Vote out the mayor that, saying that's behind or okay with some of the stuff that's going on. That falls down to the chiefs. Don't forget about judges. You got to look at judges and how they vote and how they prosecute people. Listen, I know I say this to the missus. I say this to just about everybody. All we see a lot of this fuck shit, but it still come down to the people. None of this shit moves without the people. Now, that's meaning people to put people in to keep us down, or you could put somebody in there that you can hold accountable, as Ken just said. Even though Joe Biden, we say we probably gonna vote for Joe Biden, but we can still reprimand his ass when he fucks up. Even put somebody in there that I know at least he or she will hear me. I can still voice my opinion. So it's key. It is very, very key to go vote. I know a lot of people are depressed, might not like the candidates, but if you don't vote, this kind of shit, it happens. Even to kids talking about they can use that technique up in Minnesota to put your knee in somebody's neck. An officer can put a knee in somebody's neck. That goes down to who you have as mayor, who are your aldermen, who are your representatives. Make sure they go in and say, hell no, that ain't the case. You got to fight with the union, fight with the police union.
District attorneys too.
District attorney, exactly. If you got to fight with them, then fucking bring the fight on. That kind of stuff ain't gonna happen. It still comes down to vote.
D, real quick, you didn't tell us after you found out that there were actors coming in the States and starting this stuff. And I know you took that information back to the missus since she was like, you don't think half of you is down for the cause. What did she say?
Half of her. No. She down for the cause.
No. I don't mean that's not her. I'm saying.
What did you say?
When I mean half of her, I'm implying that because she was like, you don't think that half of me, my white half, is gonna be out. So when you came back and was like, see, I told you there was something wrong with it. What did she say?
Wait a minute.
I sold it lie.
Wait a minute. I told you something was right about that shit.
I think wait a minute. I was in the bathroom just going through Twitter, and I think she heard me say, I fucking knew it. Hey,
I cannot wait till you're a 45-year-old man.
Wait a minute. Get off my lawn. Wait a minute. I came up the stairs like, Chanel. She's like, why you calling me? Like, I told you. You see this shit? She's like, yes, the mother. I'm not surprised by that. Yeah, I'm sure there's just white people out there that were doing that. I'm like, I fucking knew it. I'm like,
Ryan, he's going to be like Eddie Murphy's dead.
And I fucking walked away like, what the fuck? I just, dude, I was saying it. Me and my boys had a Zoom call a couple of nights ago, and I shared my screen, and we were just watching the first night. No, second night when they torched the fire department. I mean, the police department in Minnesota.
Precinct.
The precinct. I was sharing it on my screen. We were just talking about it, and we all was kind of like, there's a lot of white people out there, ain't it? I don't know. We was whispering to each other, even though Zoom to each other. I said, that's a lot of white people.
Look at that conditioning.
I know, right? I said, you see all these white people out here? It's like, yeah, what the hell's going on? I'm like, I like it. I'm glad they out there, but it's always a lot of them. So, and then to see this tweet come out, it's like, I fucking knew it.
All right, listen,
I knew it.
Get back on. This one kind of fits into the parameters of the flip. This from CBS News. Christian Cooper, the black man who filmed a white woman calling the cops on him in Central Park, said he feels uncomfortable with the amount of backlash she received, including losing her job in the incident Monday. Cooper asked the woman, Amy Cooper, to leash her dog in the area of Central Park. Yeah, no relation. Thank you, D. That required it, but she refused. While he filmed the encounter, the woman known as Central Park Karen on social media calls the police and falsely accuses him of threatening her. Chris Cooper said later that he just wanted the video to speak for itself. When people arrived, they determined that the two Coopers, who are not being related, as D just mentioned, engaged in a verbal dispute, and no one was arrested or given a summons, according to PUD spokesperson. After the incident, Amy Cooper was fired from her job at an investment firm, and she surrendered her Cocker Spaniel that she was choking the hell out of to an animal rescue where she adopted it. Chris Cooper was overwhelmed by the response to the video, which went viral on Twitter after his sister posted it. However, the retribution in particular was troubling to him. It's a little bit of a frenzy, and I'm uncomfortable with that, he said in an interview with the New York Times. If our goal is to change the underlying factors, I'm not sure that this young woman having her life completely turned apart serves that goal. And I say to him, bullshit.
Wait a minute. So
operate in kindness always.
Right.
We could just operate in kindness always and have that as the forefront message and meaning of what we're doing. This world would be a better place and this shit would not be happening right now.
Wait a minute. So, but he's showing the grace and the kindness that she didn't show to him. That just goes, this lets you know right there, that's a good dude. That's a good dude.
Better man.
Her
better man.
Her ass is like, yeah, you on some bullshit. I don't give a fuck if she is a liberal. I don't give a fuck if she donated to Barack Obama. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck?
She's a racist.
I don't care.
You know racist people like Barack Obama.
No. But a lot of people will think, oh, that's some down south. No, this is one thing I do want to just. A lot of people like maybe some younger people don't understand this. I don't give a fuck where they at. I don't care. Listen. A racist white person could be from any party or any political background that you could think of. Van Joe said it himself on CNN. She's like, man, she whipped out her white privilege and weaponized that man's
right
race
away.
Better than a person who was raised in the Ku Klux Klan.
Right.
He was like, she turned that shit on like it was like a switch, like she was just born with. Like, what the fuck? Like
she had an instruction manual.
Play 83.
Exactly.
Right.
Blue 32.
It just came out.
Omaha.
Exactly. I was gonna say Omaha.
He's videotaping me. Omaha.
Dude. So look, this goes back to what I mentioned earlier about the gentleman in Texas where the officer came home from work and she was a floor higher or floor lower, and she thought his apartment was hers and she shot him.
Yep.
His family came out after she was charged or during the trial and was like, forgive her. Listen,
forgive her.
I understand when it comes to what what you have to bear on your heart. And so I get the forgiveness aspect because you don't want that person to basically imprison you or kill you from the feeling of your loved one being lost, right? But fuck all of them. And then like this like for fuck all of them. Like
Ken,
go ahead.
I don't feel bad for him.
But Amy Cooper, real quick. Amy Cooper, as we just said, she could have gotten this man who is she could have gotten him killed. And he's like what, one of the biggest what's it called when you're a bird watcher?
Is it a burger or something like that?
No, it's like a huge, forget what it's called, but he is like a profound bird watcher.
He got YouTube videos about him.
Yeah,
look at that bird and shit.
So he's profound as far as doing. Dude, they could have came. We've already seen in New York how, and now he was in Central Park, but how outside of Central Park, people's chilling at a bodega, they basically kick their teeth in for not social distancing, but in Central Park, they're handing out face masks and shit, right? So we already know how the NYPD gets down, and we've seen this with the shit that's been going on with these protests or whatever, and how Eric Gardner, right? To say, you know, just, we've seen how the fuck they get down, and Shuddy, and look, you could have just had a disagreement with this gentleman and left the shit at that.
Hey, put the leash on the goddamn dog.
The poor dog, first of all. I'm happy she returned the Cocker Spaniel.
She did that first.
I bet, because, you know, they love the dogs.
More than they love us.
I said I was getting too deep. But I'm both. Right? Like, oh my God, my dog. But the fact that she could have gotten this dude severely injured, let alone killed, by lying on him. No, dude, this shit's not fucking. And listen, I would say that to a woman lying on a male about domestic violence. You know what I'm saying? And I would say that outside of race, but inside of race.
Yeah,
anybody
vice versa.
that's falsely using the cops to carry out your fucking agenda, fuck you. Like, dude, and listen, we usually know that when cops deal with white people, they usually try to come at it with more reason and understand it because they see something similar to them.
Yeah.
Even in a white on white world, you're still weaponizing the cops and some shit could fucking happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's like, it's unnecessary and it's fucking selfish and the shit just needs to fucking stop. And they need my last part, D, there needs to be legislation put in place that when people do that shit, it has to be. Well,
you think that'd be
want it because they should stop wanting false reports and shit.
Wait a minute, you would think that's probably a false report, but I did see somewhere saying that some smaller cities or some cities are trying to pass legislation for that. Ryan, you want to say something? Oh,
yeah.
Then you said.
Okay.
But sorry. A couple things, Ken. When you pointed out that Dallas officer, I remember after she got sentenced, the brother of the deceased went up and hugged her, and then they asked him about it afterwards, and he was like, "Yo, this isn't like forgiveness for what she did. This was forgiveness for myself to get over the death of my brother." And I thought that was so powerful because it's like we have to be emotional and we have to ride our emotions, but there has to be just a little layer of rationale underneath everything. It can't just be unabashed emotion, I think, with some of these things. But certainly the emotion is warranted and called for, especially when this fuck shit keeps happening over and over. And if this keeps happening, that rationale is going to be gone. I mean, you can't blame a person for losing it when it's insanity to keep doing the same behavior and expecting a different result.
Yeah,
the empathy is lost in all of this, man.
Yeah.
Right.
A couple of things quickly. One, with the Central Park situation, what took me aback was, for my younger listeners that listen to this, I know you guys on the panel know about this story. Remember in 1992, Susan Smith, South Carolina? She lied about her kids being killed by a black person.
Yes.
And it turns out that she killed her kids. And
that happened recently. Shit.
Mm-hmm. So that's what
it's called a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Especially in the South.
Yeah. So that lady in Central Park knew what she was doing when she said, "Oh, well, it was a black man who's harassing me, blah, blah, blah. Come get this guy right now." She knew exactly what she's doing. She lost her mind, but she knew exactly what she's doing. Number two, I don't know if you guys saw the video, Ryan, D, and Ken. I sent you guys the video of a Philadelphia radio host. I don't know if you want me to mention his name.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
This shit was wild. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hey, fuck him.
Okay, so the guy's name is Mike Missinelli. He's an afternoon host on 97.5 The Fanatic. And him and his producer, Tyrone Johnson, the one who was in the red shirt.
The brother name was Tyrone?
Tyrone Johnson, yeah.
He would hire a Tyrone, wouldn't he? I want my producer with a real black name. There's no Leroy's in the pound.
Get this Jeff out of here. I don't need a...
and female sports anchor, Natalie Engeloff, and they were talking about the Central Park situation. And the host, Mike, he was playing devil's advocate, trying to take the side of the cops / the lady white. She called the cops and the other two, Tyrone and Natalie, and say, there's really no devil's advocate way in this situation. There's no way to explain why the lady did what she did. And then, of course, after they went to commercial, Mike threw the headset down. He was trying to throw it.
He threw that motherfucker. Slung that shit across the room.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah, go ahead, see it.
Yeah, so Miss Nelly is suspended for 1 week because of that. The reason why it's been on social media because his afternoon show happens to broadcast on TV on NBC Sports Philadelphia. And that's why he got caught. If it wasn't on TV,
that was on TV.
He wouldn't have got caught.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Because they wouldn't have seen the shit.
Oh,
exactly.
But you know what?
They simulcast it.
Wait a minute. That shows his stupidity. That shows who he really is. Goes back to the. I
think when he was trying to defend her, he showed who he
No. This is what I'm trying to say.
She broke the law, not having the dog. She broke the law again, false police report, and she used her privilege as a weapon.
But this is
devil's advocate.
But exactly, Ryan. But this is my thing. He was so damn comfortable trying to play the devil's advocate. He did this shit on TV. You know he don't give a fuck. And he threw his headset across the room. I didn't know that was on TV, Sid. I thought that was a webcam. I thought that was kind of like a web thing.
His radio show is simulcasted on NBC Sports Philadelphia. So
he's a fucking moron.
Suspended.
Some of these. Sorry, say go ahead.
No, okay, just to wrap up. There was a second part to the video when they came back from commercial. It wasn't. It was shown on TV, but not heard on radio because the music was playing. You know, when people had intro music coming back on the radio shows. He was going. Mike was going back at it with Tyrone Johnson again, but there was no audio. Yeah, there was no audio though because the music was playing on air.
Whoa! Wow.
Go to PhillyVoice.com and look for the story.
What the fuck could he actually be trying? I mean, I saw the video.
Tyrone wasn't staying in his place.
But he was getting double teamed.
But
They
dude,
both were saying like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
And he was sitting there, dude. So also to go along with the context, the host was trying to explain one when they were trying to say when she said that when she called in and said that she was threatened. Or how did she necessarily say the black dude? What she say that the black dude did to her? As far
She was
threatening her and the dog.
Threatening her and the dog. Yeah.
And he was trying to explain that what she meant verbally threatened. They was like, regardless, fuck that. But nah, that wasn't her intention. So then I believe perhaps maybe he's been a lawyer or he studied law because he kind of threw a jab like, well, if you guys have studied a little law, you kind of know.
If you say law, your ass won't be doing sports radio right now.
Right? We got friends that study law and do sports radio.
I'm just saying.
Shout out to Julie.
Yeah, shout out to her too.
Oh yeah, shout out to Julie. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, it was just something. I guess the thing that I say from it is just to still look at how, and again, I can't change how you feel, but someone's being wronged. A human being is being wronged, and your first reaction is to defend the wrong action. And I usually, just like I talked about Officer Chow in Minneapolis, and I talked about thinking about how him being an Asian American, that there's not a ton of Asian American officers in Minneapolis, not a ton of them. You know what I'm saying? Like we live in metropolitan.
Look around the country.
That's what to say. We live in metropolitan Chicago. There's a large Asian population here in Chicago. I don't even know if I've seen an Asian officer in Chicago. Just to be honest with you, I don't know if I have. Guys, have you seen an Asian officer in Chicago?
I think I might see maybe one or two.
Okay.
I can't say I think I have.
And I mean, and we're the third largest city in the country. So he said he's the one or two. So this guy is trying to fit in, right? And he's also acting the same as the people that he views as who he's trying to fit in with. As you saw his aggression when that black gentleman stepped off the curb, instead of telling the man, dude, you killing him, stop, bro. And one thing that we've always put in this show is crazy. If you can't be morally correct, be financially sound and not fuck up your bag then.
Yeah.
And we tell you that because we're trying to loop you into doing something right and give you an incentive that if morally you don't have that natural incentive where at least financially don't fuck up your money. So at least that'll help all of us because we're just trying to give you something not to do wrong. It's no way I would allow that motherfucker to fuck up my bag like that. I thought about this before and I went on a tangent before we got off before. I thought when it happened, I said to Afton, I said, listen, I'm sorry. But if I was there when that shit happened, I would have had to push that cop off of him. I just would have.
Yeah.
I don't know what would have happened. I mean, I would have done it and put my hands up, and I would have had to do it quick. So I would have had to hit that cop, not with my fist, but as far as how fast.
You had to do something.
Yeah, just
I'm right there with you. I would have dropped to the ground, hands on the back
I would
of
have
my head.
exactly. I would have, but I would have. I couldn't. And I waited at least a day before I watched the murder of Floyd, right? George Floyd, right? Because when this shit keeps happening, just like, and then right after I watched a Central Park Karen, because I was like, let me get this shit all in now, because my emotions are up. And I watched the whole shit, and I was like, okay, what is this? Let me watch it. And dude, out of all this shit, we keep talking about all these people are out there. Forget the actors. We ain't seen that one before. You know what I'm saying? We didn't see Tamir Rice. We saw Laquan McDonald months after it took place. All right, but it's not the same context.
You saw the bullets kind of hit the ground. You didn't see him actually go through him. You saw this man life go away.
And what was the young man, unfortunately, in Ferguson? Mike Brown.
Mike Brown.
Yeah.
Mike Brown.
We didn't see that either.
But we didn't hear. We didn't hear him. We hear him dying. Like we're watching it, and we hear people like. that are there or closest to it saying he's dying. Then when
he called out for his freaking neck.
He called out for his dead mother.
Right, and his kids. Dude, he was dead 2 to 3 minutes.
Yep.
All right, there was no pulse, and Siobhan still has his knee on his neck, right?
Yeah.
And so that's part of the difference. Is like, wait, even when you try to lie something and game it up to where, well, guys, it was like this, it wasn't like that. There's not enough escapability in this one. You know what I'm saying? There's
none.
It's too harsh when you
There's absolutely
take it in. You know, so like
he's
last
handcuffed on his stomach. You know, like that's it. You have got your perk.
I had Kenton watch all of the riots with me. Because Afton was doing she had a Zoom thing with some other girlfriends. So the kids with me, and I was like, yeah, we watching the news, so you could take all of this information in and you can process it and know what's really going on out here in this world and just how fucked up. And one thing, Ryan, that you said this, I think this needs to be something that we need to start doing as a crew, and maybe to get us killed one day. Sorry, guys, it happens. We get to 60 and get killed.
Ride or die, baby.
If we don't initiate the change that really needs to take place in deconstructing this bullshit, and it's 5 of us right here, right? Dude, I promise you, if this was the fucking 60s, even with racism, we'd all be better off because they'd be way more jobs. Listen, you could pick what the fuck manufacturing shit you want to do, right? Like, man, I'm not getting paid over here. I'm gonna go work at Ford. I'm going over to U.S. Steel, right? We let them send in the 70s all this shit out, and the motherfucking this world, one world. We let them send all this shit off, and we're all fucking scrapping for fucking crumbs in this bitch instead of standing up, as D said, to people and putting a threat on these motherfuckers. That's what.
Could you imagine us having this conversation that we are having right here, right now? But it took place 50, 60 years ago, in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s.
It'd be hard. That'd be hard.
It'd be hard, but you know what, the world would be.
I mean, in a good way, hard. The progress, if people back then, where they still had power, took advantage of it instead of being cheap and placating the bullshit.
Can't wrap up for us.
Hey, Steve, we definitely appreciate it. You're gonna have to come do some more flips, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah, man.
Welcome
that
to
was
the
way
Flip
too
family.
Much fun, boys.
Welcome to the Flip family. Follow Steve at Steve Suff on air. We always appreciate it. And please be sound, be careful, be reasonable. Thank you.
The Flip.